Okay, it looks like we're recording. So let's pretend for a moment you want to measure something from an image, and that could be from a microscope side image or any image that has a scale bar. So let me just show you quickly how to do it. I'm going to share my screen here, and yeah, we share everything. See what happens if I can get the software working. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to just pull myself off the screen there to get me out of the way. I am on this web app here, which is https colon backslash, oh, sorry, forward slash ij.imjoy.io. Hopefully you can either read it or now you've understood my fun accent. Well, I don't know if it's fun or not. Anyway, this is ImageJ. This is the web application. You can download it and install it on your computer, but you actually don't need to anymore. The web application works just as well. So let's say you've got an image and you want to measure something. I'm going to go to this site here. This is called Wiki Educator, and these are skulls that are on here. I put them up, my students put them up years ago. And let's say you'd like to measure a skull from, I don't know, Nebraska. Here's one. So I'm going to go down and pick one of the images here just for the purposes of illustration. There's a coyote there from Nebraska. We do this for a biogeography study with students. But let's take this side view, and I'll tell you about this image. This image was photographed by a student, and I just copied the image. And the ruler was put in so that it is in exactly the same plane as the center of the skull in terms of distance from the camera, okay? And that's kind of critical. With a microscope image, you're working on a flat surface, so you really don't need to worry about that. You've got a very, very small thickness of focus, and if everything is in focus, then you'll be fine. So if we go back to the ImageJ screen, and I just hit paste, right? What that will do is it'll put this coyote, oh, I picked a bad one. This coyote looks like he's got some well, okay, I'm not even going to get into it, but we've got our coyote, we've got our image, and let's say we care about the total length of the skull, okay? That's what we care about. If you were to just, you know, draw a line on here, what'll happen is, you'll get a measurement. I'm drawing a square at the moment, but that's not useful. So go back to this menu and change to the line tool, which is right there, okay? And with the line tool, I can draw a line from here to here, okay? And if I find the right part of the application, you would get that measurement in pixels, which isn't terribly useful. So what we do instead is we zoom in tight on the image, as tight as you can. So not used to using the web application, but I'm just going to use Control Plus so I can zoom in here. All right, so there's my image. What I want to do here is I want to see as much of that ruler as possible. So I'm going to come up here to the web application, grab the hand. Hand allows me to move things around, okay? So now I've got the ruler in a pretty good view. Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to take the line tool. I'm going to draw from this side to that side. Okay, so I've drawn a line along the full 150 millimeters of this ruler. Okay, now I'm going to go back to analyze and I'm going to set scale. Okay, set scale allows me to put in a known distance here. I'd like to measure in millimeters, so 150 is 15 centimeters, and then I hit OK. And now the mouse is set up to measure in millimeters rather than in pixels. So if I draw a line across the width of this ruler here, okay, and I go back over here, I go analyze and I go measure, okay, it tells me that the ruler, I find the length, the ruler is 25 millimeters in width, okay, and we can test it. So let's go and measure what should be 40 millimeters. Let's see how close we get. This gives you a sense of the accuracy of the measurement, and it's worth doing. Go to analyze, go to measure. Okay. Come on, measure. There we go. And now this window will be populated with the measurements. And so the length I got, let's see, I was supposed to get 40. I got 39, come on, slide over there, 39.6, right? So on the scale of 40 millimeters, if you can get to 39.6 on a good day, you're doing all right. So let's figure out how big the skull is now, okay? So I'm going to go back to the image and I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see the entire skull. And I'm going to measure the greatest length of the skull, which is the longest measurement you can get. And so I'm going to measure from bone to bone. I tend not to measure as far as the front of the teeth because when I'm comparing skulls, teeth are often missing. So that's it. And I go back over here now to analyze and I go measure. And I go back to that little measurement window and it tells me that the length of this skull is 200.6 millimeters. You know, at this scale, I wouldn't be worrying about these significant figures. They're not relevant. But 200 millimeters, pretty good measurement for the length of that skull. And so from what I know about coyote skulls, 20 centimeters, 200 millimeters is well within the normal range that you'd expect for a coyote skull. So that tells me that my measurements are okay. The last thing I want to say about it is once you've done the calibration on one particular image, you can measure whatever the heck you want on that particular image. I could go in and I could look at these pellet holes and decide how big they were and determine, you know, what the shot size was that was used to hunt this particular coyote. But if I put up a different image of a coyote, I need to do the recalibration again. And so the same is true for your microscope slides. It's a little better with microscope slides because you could in fact calibrate, you know, for let's say your 20x lens. And you could, you know, you could fairly reliably get good accurate measurements from several photographs using that same lens. In this application with the big, large objects, you know, something as subtle as a change in the focal length, distance from the camera, is zoom that the student used to take the photograph. All of those things could affect the size. So things are actually a little better with a microscope. But yeah, that's what I've got for you. So that's how you use the ImageJ application online. It's a little different when you download the application on your computer. Frankly, I prefer using that, but for the purposes of today, that's what I got for you. So I'm loving the microscope page and the photographs that people are putting up, and have fun with your microscopes. Cheers, bye. I'm still here. How do I stop recording? There we go.